Good news, everyone! I have returned. But yeah, this is part 3 of the Managa series. If you don't know, Managa is a fan-made region I've been working on where it's basically manga and anime, but turn them into Pokemon. Not so much taking a character and making it a one-to-one transition, but taking the concept behind the character or a part of the series and morphing it into a design. Starting off, we have, well, probably an obvious one you have seen coming at this point. I do not know if there is a more famous anime than Pokemon. Like, it's definitely up there with Dragon Ball. And I mean, come on. How could I not make a Pokemon? You hand me a golden concept and expect me not to use it? So, I decided to change Pokemon's mascot. That's right, Monogon Pikachu. The name doesn't change. Of course, Pikachu, but it's electric psychic type, which Alolan Raichu is already electric psychic, but if I'm being honest, I don't think Alolan Raichu had a reason to exist past more Kanto Pander, so I'm doing my own thing. Also, it doesn't evolve into Raichu, and they didn't change Pikachu, so it still works. I mean, the obvious basis here is Pikachu, but also, I decided to make it an energy-draining kind of Pokemon. Basically, this Pikachu uses its psychic abilities to drain the will from others. Basically, it tries to get you to follow what it wants. Chances are, if you see a Monogon Pikachu on someone's team, it wasn't their choice. Everyone knows Pikachu. Pikachu is literally everywhere you look. Even people who have no idea what Pokemon is know about Pikachu. You can't escape this little rat, but since it is just a regional Pikachu, let's evolve it. My strat. Now, you'll notice that this isn't a Japanese name. Most Pika clones have that sort of Japanese name. Togedemaru, Pachirisu, that kind of thing. But the reason I didn't do that is because Pokemon is available all over the world. I know that sounds sort of easy, but is because this is based on Ash Ketchum, who isn't called Ash Ketchum in Japan or Hindi. In Japan and Hindi, he's called Satoshi, but Ash Ketchum is more of an English version. And I wanted to have that kind of dynamic, because a regional Pikachu, believe it or not, is divisive on whether or not it's a Pika clone. In fact, I asked people. Frag Magic said it wasn't a Pikachu clone, because it's a regional Pikachu, henceforth it's not a clone of Pikachu. The Wispy Dex said it's a regional Pikachu, it's not the original Pikachu, so it's a Pikachu clone. So that kind of divide, as well as the fact that Satoshi and Ash are the same person, different name, I felt was very interesting. My strat comes from Maestro, Rat, but also Master taking over control. Considering the whole part of Pokemon is catching Pokemon and then making them fight other Pokemon, I figured having a Pikachu evolution that uses its psychic powers to control other Pokemon and make those Pokemon fight for its amusement is very interesting. Also, to kind of parallel Ash more, in the Dex entry over on Instagram it says, "They've been observed traveling with various species in small groups, though no one's sure if it's by choice." An allusion to how Ash travels with so many different people. Once again, electric psychic. It works and it makes way more sense than Alolan Raichu ever did, so I'd call that a win. Of course, I said it earlier, but like, this is Ash Ketchum, this is the Pokemon anime. You knew I had to do it at some point. Now, actually, we're moving on to some surprisingly fan-favorite designs. Brick Calf is the first one. Brick and calf. It's just a calf made out of bricks. I felt it was pretty simple. Whenever I do a region, I always like to have one mon that's just kind of sentient stone, because that seems to be an oddly present trope in Pokemon. Like Golem, Gigalith, Garganacl, or Gargasalt if you're cultured, Glamora, Colossal. It's just somehow a present thing. So, here we go. Also, despite being a rock type, this Pokemon lives on the shore, because, you know, Minotaur, Crete, and the reason why is explained when it evolved, which it evolves into Minofort. Now, this line is actually inspired by Danmachi. Danmachi pulling heavily from mythology across the world, and minotaurs being at least present. As I said, it's a lot less taking just a character one-to-one, but taking an inspiration for an anime and translating it, which is what happened here. And actually, surprisingly, it seems Minifort is pretty common. I mean, the Sad Mando drew this version of it it's incredible. And Tropy Draws has said Brick Half is his favorite. So, ironically enough, these are fan favorite designs that I didn't expect. I honestly thought people would see them as a little weird, but I guess not. It's now inspired by coastal forts and labyrinths and eroded stone. Basically, it's the labyrinth and the Minotaur together, as well as the location, which is on the coast and seaside. As well as the idea of like ancient golems protecting civilizations, because they live in coastal villages where they were raised as brick half, and as such, they constantly protect their villages. Now, Minifort does have another form in this region. It's not an evolution, but it is another form. Though that form isn't quite done, and I don't plan to release the forms, not entirely, until after Managa's finished and I talk about story elements. Though just know it is one of the 3 quest lines in Managa, specifically the Professor's quest. Speaking of the Professor, here she is, Professor Kasaba, which means melon, but I mean it's not a tree, but neither is Magnolia. Her research field is the interactions that Pokemon have with their environment. For instance, how the pure rock type Minifort are able to survive in coastal villages. Also, there's no relation to N. I just chose that color. As for what it says when you find her, it appears you have found the Professor of Managa. While she wasn't able to give you your starter since she was on an expedition, she does tell you about certain special Pokemon around the region, the very topic she's researching. It appears some areas of Managa have strong members of a species protecting them, though no one knows why. They appear similar to Totem Pokemon from Alola or Titan Pokemon from Paldea. Considering she researches how Pokemon interact with their environment and other Pokemon, they are already familiar with her presence. So, she asks you to help with her research. While you might be able to battle her in the future, you can't do anything currently. Moving on from the Professor, we have Sologer, which is based on dolls, toy soldiers, but also the phrase, love is war. And if you recognize their designs, yes, this is inspired by Kaguya-sama Love is War. There is a male and a female variant, and one is obviously more defense-oriented, the other offense, because the whole statement is, love is war, a fairy fighting type, because, well, love is very much a fairy type thing, and war is very much a fighting type thing. And they're rather unique, as the way you evolve them is to have a male and a female next to each other in your party, after which they will evolve into Duoop, a duo group troop. Their weapons now bigger, more refined, and more powerful, permanently conjoined and unable to separate. They're also called the Better Together Pokemon, and they are the primary example of you can do anything with enough help. Trying to accomplish things alone normally doesn't end well. It's a lot easier with people by your side. And no, it's not a romance thing, it's a best friends thing, even though the phrase love is war was used. I mean, I don't want it to be a romance thing. I just think the idea of 2 single soldiers joining together to be a duo is cool. However, this is my first custom ability of Managa, and it's a hidden ability. Defensive Offense. Every time a move makes contact with an opponent, there's a 5% chance of the defense stat being raised by 1 stage. Basically, every time Duoop makes contact with an opponent, there's a 5% chance that their defense is raised by 1 stage. And why does that matter? Well, as Sologer, they have a 250 base stat total. The female having 10 HP, 60 speed, the male having 60 HP, 10 speed, the female having 80 in her attack stats, and the male having 80 in his defense stats, both having 10 in their stats they don't use. However, Once they become Dewhoop, they have a 500 base stat total, with their stats combining 70 HP, 90 attack, 90 defense, 90 special attack, 90 special defense, and 70 speed. Once again, not a broken stat spread because, well, their speed's kind of middling, but everything else is rather good. But anyway, this is Jay, signing away. Forever and always, bye-bye.